Gerald, and I'm really happy to see you here and to be able to connect with you because I loved your energy. I loved what you told about energetic healing um, for people and for animals as well. And I want to learn as much as I can from you. I'm really excited.
Well, thank you for having me, Ariana. It's a great pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
That's great. So, one of the most exciting questions, and this is something that I ask from everyone around me. How did
Okay.
you start your journey? How did you start to discover your abilities? Because that's so exciting and inspiring to see how other people get to this point in their lives.
Well, do you want the short version or do you want the long version?
Long version, everything
Okay.
included.
Well, for me, it kind of started when I was a little bit younger. Now, when I grew up as a kid, I had two older sisters. I was the youngest of three. I lived in a small little town called Zion, Illinois. And I know people think in Zion, they probably think the Matrix, the last human
Yes,
city.
yes.
It sometimes felt like that way, it really did. But my older sister, she had cerebral palsy. And it was very difficult when we grew up as kids, though, because I didn't grow up with spirituality. You know,
Mhm.
when we were as a kid, we grew up with like, heaven, hell, you live, you die, that's it.
So those religious beliefs.
Pretty much, yeah. My parents didn't really talk much about religion, really, or anything spiritual, really, at all when I was a kid. So it was really, you know, it was very difficult when I was a kid,
Hmm.
because I didn't really have a guide to really, guide me in the direction that I really wanted to go to with my spiritualness, my spiritual
Hmm.
awakenings in life. So, but when I was a child, though, I used to have very vivid dreams, though. They used to come very much true. I had a
Hmm.
dream once when I was a child, though, that I was in this store shopping and stuff like that, and I was seeing all these clothes and everything like that, and then there was like this tag there. It had like a price tag on it, though. And I didn't think anything about it. Like, oh, it's just a normal dream. And then a couple weeks later, we went to the exact same store, and I looked at the exact same tag, and I was like, wait a minute, I dreamt this. I couldn't, at the time, I couldn't explain why. And I kept having more and more of those dreams more frequently as I got older.
Hmm.
But then I had a dream when I was, I think maybe it was about maybe 10 or 11, I think. My sister got very sick in the hospital, my older sister. And then she had to have surgery done. And she had to go away to Chicago to do it. And we had to stay at my mom's friend's house, which is in North Chicago. And I
Hmm.
had a dream that night, though, that she was on the operating table and she was bleeding to death. And she was
Hmm.
looking right at me. And I panicked because it felt very real. It felt like I was there with her in the room, experiencing
Hmm.
what she experienced.
Hmm.
And I told my mom's friend, you got to call the hospital. I feel like there's something wrong. Something's not right. And sure, the next day when she called, she was bleeding on the operating table that same day. So I
Oh.
was I was I was seeing exactly what was happening though, and they almost couldn't stop the bleeding either when it happened.
Hmm. Okay. And uh, it's interesting. Was she aware of this connection between you two? So this telepathic connection, was she aware of that?
I think she might have been very aware of it because my sister she was very different. You
Hmm.
know, she was like 30 plus years old, but she
Hmm.
had the mentality of like a 5, 6 year old though. But the way
Hmm.
she saw things and the way she looked at the world though, it was very different. You can tell that she was really connected
Hmm.
in some way. I couldn't
Hmm.
really explain it because I was very young at that time period, so I didn't really fully grasp or comprehend it at that moment. And it
Hmm.
really freaked me out though because I didn't know how to explain it because I was
Hmm.
very young. I didn't have anybody to guide me or tell me that what was going on was okay or what I was experiencing was normal.
Hmm.
People just, my mom and dad was like, "Oh, you're crazy," and they kind of waved it off, you know. And then for a while, I suppressed it for a very, very long time. And as I got older, once I got into high school, my mom started making me go to church, of course. I didn't really want to go to church though because it wasn't really my kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But as time went through, I went through church, I started realizing and started experiencing certain things. I started questioning certain things because certain things, in church made sense, but certain things didn't make sense. Some things didn't just add up,
Mm-hmm.
So I got more and more curious about it though. And I started realizing when I was in high school though, that I had the ability to really get into tune and senses what people were thinking, what they were feeling. And I couldn't explain it either though because I was older, but I still couldn't quite comprehend it though at the time period because I had no one to teach me. I had no guides, I had no teachers, I had no real influences to guide me in my spiritual awakenings.
Uh-huh. Okay. And
And
mhm, did that affect your relationship with those kids, with those people? Didn't they feel that you're some kind of different person?
at times I felt very different at times though. I mean, I knew people in high school. It's like I knew people, but I didn't really have these like, I had bonds, but not like these really close bonds.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt kind of different. Even when I was a kid, I felt different. I felt like I was a part of my family, but I didn't feel like I actually belonged in my family,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because we were all so very different though when we were kids. And it was even harder for when I was a kid though, because my dad was very much an alcoholic. He drank a lot when we were children.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it made it even more difficult and more challenging because of that reason
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I graduated high school, of course. And then shortly after, I went in the military. I always wanted to go in the military because I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to experience different things. So I went in the military. I did 2 tours in Iraq, back to back. The first time I was there for 7 months. And then I came back 3 months later. And then they sent me back again for about almost a year.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
And
how
it
was?
was a,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to ask about this experience in Iraq.
well, the first time was very different because, well, actually, the first time I got told, like a week before, I got ready to leave. Actually, they came up to me and said, "Oh, you're going to Iraq. Pack your bags. You're leaving in a week."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had no idea where I was going to in Iraq, what parts, what the mission was, nothing. So they said, "Okay, just go up to the division, and they'll tell you what you're doing."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I got there. There was like I think maybe like 20 other guys just like me, all from different parts of the division. And basically, our job was basically satellite communications
Mhm, mhm,
and like that. And we were basically paired up in teams of 2 with 10 different teams.
mhm, mhm,
And then eventually, after a week, they sent us to Iraq, and we were basically go there to go on missions and gather intel and information at these sites we went to as well.
mhm, mhm,
That was the first time. The first time wasn't so bad though, but it was really a cultural experience because I
mhm,
know a lot of people when they look at the news and they see the Middle East and they tend to look at it differently and they tend to experience it differently like that and stuff. It's not quite the way people think it is.
No?
Well, no, it's not. It's very, very different. It's very warm there. It's very hot, especially if you go down there during the summer. We went there in June, so it was very warm there. I think when we got there the first day, it must have been, I would say, maybe 110 degrees.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So it was very hot the first day we were there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And when we first got there to Iraq, they just drove us to this camp and they put us on this little house on the river,
Mhm.
all 20 of us.
Uh-huh.
Yes, all of us. And we had no idea where we were going to, what we were going to get attached to, nothing. Because in my understanding, it was at the beginning when the Iraq War first happened. It was like a couple months after it started. So when we got there, everything was destroyed. All the palaces were destroyed. There were bullet holes everywhere. I mean, we didn't even have protections on our Humvees at
Mhm.
all. We
Mhm.
had no doors on the Humvees. We were using sandbags when we went on missions as protection on the back of our trucks.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's how it was at first when we first went there, actually.
Mhm.
So through time, though, eventually we went there. Time eventually grew, though, and they started building more things like that and stuff, and building trailers and everything like that. So eventually it grew after a while. When we first
Mm-hmm.
cut, there was nothing there, actually, nothing.
Mm-hmm. Weren't you afraid? I know it's a funny question, but it's such a different culture, a situation, not being in control because you are being sent here, there without knowing anything. Weren't you afraid or feeling bad about this?
Um, I think the first time I heard gunshots, I kind of just dropped to the ground. I was like, oh, what was that? Because I had no idea where it was coming from. I was like where it's coming from. And I think that's exactly what I did the first time I was there. But after a while, you kind of get used to it after a while, though. You know,
Really?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you do, really, it does. And it's hard to explain because when you're first there, it's a real cultural shell shocker, you know, because you don't know what to expect. You don't
Yeah.
know what the culture's like, what the people are like there, what the climate's like, what the language is like either. You know, what kind of danger you're going to be in, what kind of you're not going to be in. So it's very different when you first get there, though. But the more I was there, though, the more I started embracing the culture and started getting a better understanding of this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but I think what a lot of people don't realize, though, is you can't even drink the water there. The water is not drinkable there, actually, at all.
Uh-huh.
So we
Okay.
actually had to bring our own bottles of water there from the United States to there, actually, because the water was not drinkable there at all.
Okay. Uh, were there no water filters or some appliances, something that clears the water?
No,
Didn't
we
you
use
have
bottles. We use
just
bottles of water.
water? Oh God.
They had them in big they shipped them big boxes to us, and basically we had them like stacked in our houses like that stuff, and we just take a bottle, we put them in the refrigerators, and then
Mm-hmm.
just keep them cool. That's how it was when we first got there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very much like that.
Okay. So and for a person who has these insights, these intuitions, how was this experience in the army? Because this is an aggressive environment, and you are not an aggressive person. So how did you go through this? Since you would be the last person on earth who I could imagine in such a place like Iraq.
Well, when I first went in the military, though, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in the world. That was why I first went in the military. You know, but then when I got in the military, it was not like I expected at all. It wasn't. It was a complete different perspective, everything like that. Because the job I did in the military, I drove tanks for a living. That's what I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very much different because at the time period, they didn't tell us when I enlisted that if you didn't have a driver's license, that it would limit you for certain jobs in the military.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found kind of ironic was that I couldn't get a driver's license though, and it limited me for certain jobs, but yet I was able to drive a tank. That I didn't get.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, driving tanks, but it's again a very aggressive thing, environment. The activity, the tanks. It's such a mm, really scary. I had my first uh, hypnosis. It was a regression, spontaneous regression. And the first thing that I remembered were tanks in World War II. I
Oh,
could
really?
feel. Do you know what was the most, uh, I don't know, uh, the strangest part of this? That I was afraid of the trembling of the earth. I could feel that this debris of what was the remains of those buildings, it all shook. We couldn't hear the tanks, but we could feel them. And there was this powder like dust after the bombings. That's what I experienced. And now you're telling me about tanks. Okay. I needed therapy with that. Okay, tell me more about those tanks.
Well, when you drive tanks, though, it's very different, though, because when I was in basic training, they have you work on the first tank we worked on were M1A1s. Now, the M1A1s were non-computerized, and the
Yeah.
ones I worked on were M1A2s, which were computerized. So I had to stay an extra week in my basic training, though, to work on the M1A2 tanks because they were computerized, and you need special training for those.
Mm-hmm.
And normally most tanks go, I would say, about 60, 65 miles per hour.
Okay. Okay. And did you get into shootings, further fights when you were driving those tanks?
The first time, no, because the first time I didn't drive tanks the first time. The first time we just
Mm-hmm.
worked with radios the
Yeah.
first time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The second time was like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Oh God. Oh God. That sounds scary. And how was the second time for you after you were sent back again?
I personally didn't want to go back, actually.
Okay, you didn't want to go back, but
No,
you had to.
unfortunately, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And what can you do in such a situation if someone decides that he doesn't want to, it wasn't how he expected it to be. It's not the same cause, it's not the same attitude, and they just don't want to continue. Was there any possibility to avoid that experience or no?
No,
No.
not
Didn't?
really, no. No, because what people have to understand when they're in the military, when they tell you to go somewhere, you have to go.
Okay.
You don't really have a choice.
Okay. And do you think that was a karmic, I don't know, lesson or something that you had to do? Was that your karmic path?
I think the reason I went in the military, when I look at it back then and I look at it now, I think I had to go there because when I first went in the military, I was very young. I was very naive. I knew stuff, but I didn't really have any really true real life experiences, as far as being on my own and learning to be an adult and learning responsibility and maturity. So I had to grow up really fast,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So when I went in the military, and the military it grows you up really fast. You mature very quickly though, because you go in there as a boy and you come up basically as a man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because everything is very different. The lifestyle is different. You're working a lot from morning to evening. Whenever they tell you to go, you got to go. Sometimes you have to work 12, anywhere to 12 to 24 hours a day sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you go 3 or 4 days without sleep. Sometimes you're sleeping in the rain, the snow, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They tell you to do it, you have to do it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Okay. And did you have any telepathic or such experiences there? Something that you foresee the future, or you just felt what the other people felt or were thinking about, or what would happen?
Well, I think the first time I was there, I kind of experienced like I had a sense that like it just didn't feel right, us being there,
Mm-hmm.
because when I was first there the first time, that's when they caught Saddam Hussein. Now we actually had people go out to the site actually though and actually capture him actually,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we heard this on the radio though, and everybody thought when this happened it was going to make a big difference, it was going to make a change, but it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then when they wanted to send me back, I didn't realize why we were going back in the first place because it didn't make sense to me. Because everything we had learned, everything we had gone to the sites, didn't really find anything. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really see the point of going back there. So it just didn't feel vibrationally right for me to go back.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And how did this second time change you, or how did this propel you in your awakening?
Well, I think the second time when I was there, it was very much different. It wasn't like the first time. When I got there the second time, it felt like, that everybody was kind of in it for themselves. That it didn't really feel like this solid camaraderie like it used to be, where everybody was just trying to, well, for lack of a better term, everybody was trying to screw each other over to get ahead, basically, at that time period. And that's basically how it was the second time, though. And it felt like, you couldn't really trust anybody anymore. It was like you felt like an individual almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were part of something, but you weren't really a part of it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
And at the time period, it was a really hard time for me going back to the second time period because I had just got out of a really bad relationship that didn't work out. My family was having trouble back home as well too. I had got into a little bit of trouble when I was there the second time. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really agree with the policies of the way my NCOs were doing certain things as well too, and we had a kind of a disagreement. And of course, at the time period, I lost my rank at the time period. So I had a point where I was in a really dark place at the time period. Nothing was working in my life. Everything was just basically wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point where I said to myself, I can either continue to keep going down this path or I can say, heck with it.
Mm-hmm.
So then one day I decided to just let it all go, forget what happened. And then eventually I started going on the internet. I started talking to people
Mm-hmm.
because I felt at the time period that I needed to release something, because I felt like, if I didn't, that I would start losing a part of who I was
Mm-hmm.
at that period because I didn't know who I was anymore. I was still searching. Did I really want to still do what I was doing anymore? Did I not want to do what I wanted to do anymore? Where did I fit in? Where I didn't fit in? And then at the time period, I started talking to people online, and then all of a sudden, this wonderful woman came online one day, and I remember this because it was right at the time period at the beginning of the chat rooms at the time period.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Is there any cute Americans online?" Well, I said,
Was it
so
true?
so naturally, of course, I said, well, hey, I'm in the military. I'm wearing a uniform. Women love men in uniform, so I guess I'm cute. So yeah, sure.
Wow, that sounds romantic.
It was. And I remember the first time we talked for like 2 or 3 hours. And I felt like I had known her for years. I couldn't explain it. I felt like I could tell her anything. It didn't matter. We talked about all kinds. And I didn't, at the time period, she didn't even have a web camera. So I couldn't see what she looked like at all. I had
Okay.
no idea what she looked like. None. She could see me, but I couldn't see her.
Oh, okay. So it was like a blind date. You
Pretty much.
okay, okay. And
Uh,
mhm, just
no, but
listening, listening.
so and then actually we talked for 2 or 3 hours. And the weirdest thing was after I got done talking to her, I couldn't sleep that night. I just couldn't get her out of my head. I said, who is this person? Why is she having this effect on me? I felt like we had this connection. I couldn't explain what it was. And then the next day we didn't talk because I had to go on a mission the next day and I was gone all day and I had to work, unfortunately. And then I got back to her, I think the day after. And then I think we talked a little bit more for about a week. After a week, I asked her to be my girlfriend after a week.
Oh God. Okay. But you were still in Iraq?
Yes.
Okay. And she was where was she? In America or
No,
in
she was actually here in Belgium, actually. She was here in
Belgium?
Belgium at the time period.
Okay.
So we talked, and I asked her to be my girlfriend about a week. After a week, we asked her. And then the week afterwards, I said I wanted to ask her a question. But I didn't want to do it over the internet, of course. So I said, okay, give me your number, I'll call you. So then I called her on the phone, and I asked her to marry me. after 2 weeks.
Oh my God, really? After
Yes.
2 weeks? Oh, so that I wanted to ask if you trusted this feeling that you had, this connection, but it appears that you pretty much trusted your gut feelings. So,
Yeah, I did. It just felt like I had known her for years. And what made it even more weirder was um, that I told her I had a dream about her in her bedroom, and I can explain every detail of what her bedroom looked like. And she looked at me. She's like you just described my entire bedroom. How could you know what my bedroom looks like? You never even see my bedroom. And
uh-huh.
I said I couldn't explain why. It just I did. I had that dream about it.
Okay. And did you have a picture about her, how she looked, or?
Well, I didn't see her on a webcam though, but she did send me pictures after
Ah,
a short
okay.
period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first talked, I didn't know what she looked like at all.
Okay, okay, okay.
So then I asked her on the phone, I asked her to marry me. She gave me this, I heard this long pause for about a good 5 minutes.
Oh God. Yeah, yeah.
So I was like this, I'm like, hello, hello. Because I thought she probably freaked out and like, she's running for the hills. It's like, I'm out of here. I gotta go.
And what happened then?
Well, then after 5 minutes, she got on the phone. She's like you saw, like, yeah, I'm still here. And she just said, yeah, I'll marry you. And I was like, okay, cool.
No, that's unbelievable. I have never heard anything like this. Wow. Did she know right away that you had this connection?
Yeah, she did. We did. When we
Did.
first talked for the first time, we knew. It was just something about when we talked, it was just like everything clicked.
Okay.
Everything made sense. Like everything perfectly aligned for us to meet each other.
Wow. Wow. And how long did you stay in Iraq after this marriage proposal?
Um, well, I asked her to marry me. It was like in the middle of August in 2004. And then shortly after that, a couple months later, it was in October. Um, I had a really bad, tragic thing happen 2 months later. Um, I got up one morning, I was going to my job. Now, when we were in the military, though, if something ever happened to somebody or somebody died, they would have a bulletin board and they would have like a blackout sign saying they would be able to cut communication or we couldn't talk to anyone, because someone had died in the unit. And I got to work that day and it said there was a blackout in Charlie Company. Now, I used to be in Charlie Company when I first got to my unit, and I knew everybody in Charlie Company. And I remember one of the medics came up to me, it was early in the morning. He said to me that my friend Ramsey had died. And I remember that and it devastated me. I was completely devastated. I felt like someone had just ripped my heart right out of my chest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was very, very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when I first got to my unit, he was the first person who really kind of took me under my wing and just kind of showed me the ropes. And we developed this great friendship, but through time that we became more than friends, we became more like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So when he died, I felt like a part of me died as
Mm-hmm.
well. And that was a very difficult time period for me. And I don't think if I would have met my wife at that time period, I would have been able to deal with it as easily as I could have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was still very difficult at the time period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. And how could she help you with this?
Well, she just told me, that I'm here for you and that I love you, that I'm always here to support you and if no matter what, we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
She was my rock. She got me through it, it was really hard because a couple of days later they had a memorial for him and I had to speak at his memorial. It was by far one of the hardest things I ever had to
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet. I bet. Have you dreamt about him afterwards?
do.
Yeah.
that's really how my spiritual awakening kind of really got really when it really opened my eyes fully, completely. But this didn't happen until a few years down the road, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. So, so your spiritual awakening happened after this, a few years afterwards. Mm-hmm. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
because then I got after that happened, 2 months later, I met my wife in December because my mother got really sick, and I had to fly back home. And of course, and my wife decided to fly all the way from Belgium, all the way to Chicago, and it was actually the first time we'd actually met in person, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I had flown all day because it takes a long time to get from Iraq to the States. It's about at least a day travel to get
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very exhausted. I flew all the way from Chicago, I flew all the way from Iraq to Chicago O'Hare Airport, and she flew from Belgium to Chicago to meet me for the first time. And, and I was very tired, very exhausted because I got off the plane, and she told me to meet her at the hotel, but then I called the hotel though, and they said, "Oh, we have nobody by that name." I'm like, okay. I think she didn't show up.
Oh.
But then I remember her telling me, said, "If I'm not there, I'm at baggage claim." I said, "Who would wait at baggage claim for 5-6 hours? I wouldn't wait baggage claim for 5-6 hours. It's so boring down there." But then I went down to baggage claim, of course. All I had was a picture of her in my hand. So I looked at this picture all through the entire flight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was flying the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So I get down there, I'm tired, I'm really exhausted. And I'm looking at this picture like this, I'm like looking around at people like half asleep. And I see this girl with curlish hair, glasses, brown coat. I said, "I think that's her." I'm like, "Yeah, it's her, that's her." So I kind of just paused. I stood there and I paused because when you talk to somebody for like 3 or 4 months, over the internet, it's not the same thing as when you first meet them in person
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience. So I didn't really know what to say to her. So she was talking on the phone, and she's like, "Oh, he's here. He's here. I gotta go. I gotta go." Because I could hear her because I wasn't that far from her. I could have been more, maybe a couple feet away from her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I went up to her, and I didn't even look her in the eye. I looked at her shoes.
Shoes.
I looked at her shoes.
Man. Yeah.
And all I said to her, I said, "I can't believe you're here. I just can't believe you're here." She's like, "It's like, I'm up here, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Oh God, I can see that picture. So yeah, so you're looking at your shoes. I love that. Oh God, I love that. Yeah, and
And then I looked at her, and when I first saw her, I felt like, like there's no other place I wanted to be. You know, I felt like this felt so right. I just felt like, that everything had finally come into aligned. I feel like our energies really matched. I felt safe.
Mhm,
I felt safe and I felt loved, because with her, I felt like, no matter what, I could just be me.
mhm,
I didn't feel like I was going to be judged for it or ridiculed or not accepted for being who I truly was.
mhm, mhm,
And I
mhm.
felt that with her
Yeah, yeah.
completely and openly.
Mhm. Okay, and how did your awakening then start? What was that pivotal point that suddenly moved those things?
Um, well, a couple of years went by. I think it's maybe a few years down the road, actually.
Mhm.
Um, my wife decided to, she had a lot of trouble at her job. She worked in a grocery store, and nothing went right with her job. And then all of a sudden, she had this crazy idea, like, "Honey, let's start a business." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, sure. What do you want to do?" Because we'd already started a business before, but our business, the first time we did a business, it didn't succeed. Actually, it
Mhm.
failed.
Mhm.
That's when we were living in America. Actually, the time period we were living in Colorado.
Mhm.
and that business failed, and we lost everything. We went
Oh.
under. And it
Mm-hmm.
was right at the time period. I think it was in around 2007, 2008, when everything
Oh,
was
the
like,
crisis? Was it
yeah,
the crisis? Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I remember.
yeah. And we lost everything. We lost. We had to sell all our stuff. We had to move. We basically left everything behind. We had to
Mm-hmm.
start all over again.
Oh, yeah.
So we
Okay.
came back to Belgium in 2008, and we just it was difficult at first because we had to restart all over again, and it was different transition for us. So we lived in this small little apartment in Weebleham for a couple of years, and then shortly we moved into this house, and we've been here about 10 years
Mm-hmm.
now. And then a couple of years, I would say maybe about maybe 5, 6 years ago, my wife had this crazy notion to all of a sudden start a business again. And I'm like, because she got tired of her job, she got tired of not being appreciated at her job, she wanted to do something with her own. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay. It's like, well, let's start a spiritual business. I'm like, really?
So you were not into spirituality before, and you talked about her experiences because we didn't mention in this video before, but Emma, she is a spiritual translator. She is one of the best mediums I have ever seen and heard. So didn't you guys talk about these things?
Well, I always kind of knew that she had something really special about her. And
Yeah.
she used to do card readings sometimes on the side though, but she never really made anything, really much out of it though. People just come to her once in a while and say, hey, can I ask you for advice, or can you do like a card read with me, you know? But I always kind of knew that she had the gift though.
Mm-hmm.
But then she finally realized that she said, you know what, maybe it's time to do something with my gift.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I said to her, okay, let's go for it then.
Mm-hmm.
Said, oh. So then we kind of started this business, and it was hard at first. It was very, very difficult. When we first started, we actually started doing it out of our house actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like we would go out, hand flyers out, put it in people's mailboxes, and for the first like few months, we had no one. We had no
Mm-hmm.
customers, nothing. So we got to a point where like, how is this going to work? And, how are we going to get people in to really be invested into wanting to hear from us?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as time went by, eventually, she got this break. This lady, she reached out to this lady, Eliza Medus, of course, who did channeling Eric at the time period. And my wife reached out to her and said, hey, if you ever want somebody to, do a channeling for you, like that stuff, and it's like that, I'd be happy to do it. No problem, free of charge. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, Eliza reached out to her and they did this interview together and they just kind of clicked. And then all of a sudden, bam, everything just kind of took off.
Mm-hmm.
For her, really, though. But for me, I was still kind of, at the time, I was still kind of finding my way
Mm-hmm.
because I was just helping my wife in the business. But I didn't really know what my part was going to be yet
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
along the way. And then eventually she told me, though, said, honey, you have these amazing gifts with your hands. Because every time you put your hands in me, I feel so much better. I said, okay, well, that's probably why, because I'm your husband. That's normal. So I didn't think anything about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, maybe you should try doing healings. I said, okay, I guess I could do it. Sure, why not?
So you had no ideas about how this works. I mean, this healing thing with the hands.
No, no, no. Because at the time period when I was doing this, I was really still kind of struggling at the moment, and part of me liked it. I believed in it, but I still wasn't fully believing in it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know. But then I remember when I saw the channeling with Jamie, though, it started really clicking for me though when I saw her channeling once.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really said, okay, this is starting to make a little bit of sense. And my wife said, okay, you should start meditating, so I guess you get more in tune and more connected with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay. And at first, of course, I didn't see anything. All I saw was like pitch black, nothing. I was like, oh, this crap doesn't work.
Yeah.
This doesn't work at all. And my wife said, well, why don't you start like, using a mantra to help you? And I said, oh, okay, So I started using the mantra then. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, I started seeing colors. Started seeing the color of the chakras. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, this is very fascinating. So maybe there is something more to this, but I wanted to be able to figure out what else there was, because I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to grow. I wanted to evolve, but I just didn't know how to get to that level. So then I remember that I saw this video with Jamie, and she was talking about this technique that you do when you meditate, though. That you sit up in a certain position, though, when
Mm-hmm.
you're sitting up in your chair,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you have to breathe through your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, that's kind of weird. You breathe through your stomach. Okay, sure. And then all of a sudden she said, imagine that you see like this bridge and this big shining light, and if you see this bridge, and if you see people coming out of this bridge, that's your loved ones want to connect with you. And I said, okay. So I tried it then. I said, okay, sure, why not? I'll try it, see what happens. And then sure enough, I saw the same bridge that she was talking about. So I was like, okay. I thought maybe I'm dreaming, maybe I'm imagining this. Is this even possible? But the
Yeah.
weird thing was, the first time I was there, she was actually there with me, actually, though, which was really strange. I couldn't explain that either.
So you
So
you saw yourself on this bridge with Jamie by your side and people coming. Was
I,
that a conscious visualization or how did that happen?
well, she was like, she looked right at me. There was a bridge right there, and we were like across from the bridge.
Yeah.
And she kind of just tapped me on my shoulder, and all I saw was like this big giant light coming off the bridge. And I saw these figures kind of coming out of it. And I was like, okay, this is just weird. So I didn't really know how to explain it. And it's like that. And she's like, go to the bridge and see. So I first went to the bridge, and I was very hesitant because I didn't know if I was imagining it, if this is really real, if this is even possible. So I pulled back because at the point I was like, okay, maybe I'm not ready for this completely yet. So then I told my wife about it, and my wife said, no, honey, you have to go back. You have to go back and you have to retry this. Don't be afraid. And I said, okay. So then a couple of days later, I went back and I retried it again. And I saw the exact same thing again. So, okay, this can't be a coincidence. So I walked up to the bridge, and all of a sudden these figures come up. But I started recognizing the figures that were coming off on the bridge. And they were family members. They were my family, my friends. It was my grandfather, my uncle. My grandfather I didn't know, who I never met before my entire life at all. It was my sister, because my sister had passed away, my older sister. And my best friend was there too, actually, as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was waiting for me. And each one of them came to me individually, and they started talking to me and telling me their stories and showing me images, things like that stuff of things in my life that they experienced, and what I had experienced like that and stuff like that. I was like, this is not possible. I mean, this can't be real. And it's like that. But the more and more they started showing me, I said, there's got to be something to this. I just, it was like a part of me is like, I really want to believe, but I don't know if I'm fully ready to believe yet completely. And then, of course, the last person that came to me was my best friend, because I had a really hard time letting go of what happened to him. Because when he died, I wasn't there when he died
Mm-hmm.
at all. And I felt very guilty, and I felt very responsible for it, because I felt if I could have been there, if I could have done something or said something or changed something that it might have been better.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden he came to me. He didn't say anything. All he did was he put his hand on my chest. That's all he did. And he didn't say anything. And I felt this feeling that I had never felt in my entire life. It was like this overwhelming, unconditional love. But it wasn't like a love that you can really fully capture, really comprehend. It was like 1,000 times more powerful, more stronger than anything you can imagine. And I was crying because I'm not a big crier. I really am not. And I was just crying. I was bursting into tears. And I can hear him talk to me subconscious in my mind. And I was like, how the hell is he doing this? You know? And he was showing me the images that we had together, the experiences we had together, the friendship. And he said to me, it's not your fault. Let go. You know, I'm here for you. You can always talk to me. I'm always here. I'm not gone. All right. I'm just not here in the physical presence anymore. And I said, okay. And then shortly after, I felt all these figures kind of just touch me on my shoulder. And it was like this sense of relief, the sense of calmness and the stillness and this peace, like I had never felt anything in my life. And it was so beautiful and so magical at the same time, though. And after that, it was really, that's what really, really opened my eyes. I said to myself, okay, there's that right there just confirmed to me that we're not alone. And there's more to life than just what we're doing right now in this plane. And I thought that was incredible.
Wow. Wow. I love this. Oh God. You can literally feel this energy. Wow. Oh God. I'm
And then
I'm amazed. Speechless.
well, what the main thing was though is like that stuff. And wife said, okay, now that you've experienced this like that stuff, you have to be able to go into it more. And it's like that stuff. So I remember one day we went to my mother-in-law's house, and she always gets her hair done by this hairstylist. Who always comes to her house, and this hairstylist had a really bad headache. And my wife said, "Why don't you do a healing on her?" And I said, "Okay," you know. And I was starting to become more attuned and more connected. And then all of a sudden, you know, so I just put my hands on her. I had no idea what I was doing. I really did. I said, "Okay," and I just kind of felt her energy, how it felt. You know, 'cause I was still new to this. I didn't really know how the whole energy healing thing really fully worked completely, you know? So I put my hand up for I say maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes. And 10, 15 minutes later, her eyes began to unswell. Her face had gotten more brighter. And so stuff was like, wow, I feel so much better. Like, you really helped me. It's like, how did you do that? I said, I have no clue. I couldn't explain how I did it. I really didn't. No, but the weird thing was what I didn't fully understand the time period is that I kind of absorbed her energy a little bit afterwards, you know, because I think a lot of people don't understand when they talk about healing is though you have to learn to protect yourself as well too. When you do healings, you have to learn to set these boundaries when you do healings, so you don't absorb their energy. But the time period, I didn't fully completely understand that at the time period.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a really bad headache afterwards, a really bad one.
Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, wow. And after that, how could you, what were your ideas? How will you explore this energy healing? What would be your learning? How do you do that? Actually, I have no idea.
Well, what I did was I basically I started looking at videos. I started looking at more videos about energy healings and how other people did them, and kind of got like, you know, I listened to like people like what was it, Tila Swan.
Feel Swan, yeah.
I thought, yeah, I thought she was really incredible. I thought what she made a lot of sense. I listened to people like Jamie and a few other ones as well. And but I also thought to myself when I was listening to them, okay, I just kind of took a piece of what they were saying, and a piece of this and a piece of this. But I also felt like, you know, that there was something more that I could learn from something else, from another standpoint. So I started doing a lot of meditations a lot, you know, and then all of a sudden, because at the time I period, my wife was working with Eliza, and she was working with her son Eric at the time period. So then during my meditations, Eric started coming to me during my meditations though. And so he's like, okay, man, I'm going to show you the ropes. I'm going to show you how to experience the spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start being kind of your teacher.
Yeah.
And I
Oh.
said, okay, I'm ready. Show me. You know, he started showing me these incredibly amazing things. I remember one time he showed me how to be here in this body right here, in this physical form right here, but to be in a meditative state while you're there, to transfer subconscious there to the place where he's at,
Yeah. So
your
you're
spiritual body.
kind of being in two places at once,
Yes.
two different planes, the
Yeah.
physical plane and
The spiritual plane.
the spiritual plane. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And
But what
how,
he showed me was
yeah.
when I was in the spiritual plane was though, he showed me that I can be in the physical plane at this moment, but be in the spiritual plane, but be able to get out of the spiritual plane and be able to go past that as well. And I said, okay, how do you do this? And I said, I'm going to show you. So he had me like sit on like this, it was like a projection almost, kind of. Like I was like sit on the bench, but the bench wasn't really there, it was just projection, to make me feel more comfortable. And I said, what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, right? And I want you to imagine, you know how they talk about that visible cord they talk about as well? It's like a very, like this visible cord where
Yeah.
it connects you.
Yeah. Yeah. In the solar plexus, is that?
No. It's like a visible cord, like a visible spiritual cord
Yeah.
that connects you
Okay.
to your body,
Yeah. Okay.
from your spiritual body to your physical body.
Yeah. Okay.
And he said to me, okay, all you have to do is when you want to be able to get back into your body, just follow the cord when you don't feel comfortable with this. All right. And just guide it. And he showed it to me. He showed me what it looked like. And so I felt more comfortable doing it. And I said, okay, fine. So after maybe 10 minutes, I was able to let go. And I was able to get out of my spiritual body and be somewhere else with him. And I was like, this is kind of cool, actually.
And how did it feel being out of your spiritual? Because out of body is one thing, being then out of your spiritual body is mind blowing. And then you are going somewhere with a guy you don't really know.
Well, he basically told me was that you have the ability to be able to, go out of, split yourself in half. You can split yourself into many different pieces, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, really? I said, yeah. I said, I can split myself into 100 different pieces and be at one place, 100 places at one time. I said, really? He said, yes, it's very possible. He says, it's all about letting go. That's what he says. That's what a lot of people have a hard time. They have a hard time letting go, because they have this attachment to the physical plane. They don't know how to be able to let go completely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I always said, okay. But for me, for someone, I had a really easy time doing it though. I don't know why, I just did.
Mm-hmm.
So and then eventually said, okay, show me what you want to show me. And then I think he showed me one time, he showed me my life review once.
Mm-hmm. This life
And,
or some previous life?
no, this life.
This life. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because he talks about his book, about his life review in his
Yeah.
book. And I said, okay. So he showed me my life review. And that was really, really a mind-blowing experience, because when you see your life review, it's all this information all at one time, simultaneous, all at once, like bing, boom, boom, boom. You see all these different images come at you at once. And it's so much to process, and all this information, like, okay, wow, that's a lot. So then I pulled back out because it was a lot. It was a lot to handle, because when you don't know how to really be able to, I don't know how to explain it.
Process it or
Yeah, process it. Yeah, exactly. Process it. All that information, it can be overwhelming. So then I kind of just took the invisible cord and jumped back into that body. And then I got back into this body. And then, of course, after I woke up, though, I could not stop thinking about everything he had showed me. I kept remembering from the time I was like 2 years old. And it's like, I'm like, how can I remember when I was two? I was a baby then. No one remembers when they're 2 years old. No one. And I kept remembering all these things that I had forgotten. And I remembered all these things that happened. It was mind blowing. It was absolutely incredible.
mm-hmm. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Oh God. Yeah, we forgot to mention that Eric is the son of Elsa Medus, and he committed suicide. So now he is a spiritual teacher, and Emma and Jamie are channeling him, and many other mediums as well. So that's how you got um, connected to him. It's interesting. Did you
Yes.
have any previous life connection with him? And with, so why did it happen? Why did he find you?
Well, because at the time he was talking to my wife, and I guess he felt like we had this connection. But
Hmm.
then through time, the more I got to know him, that we had a lot of previous lives together, me and him actually though.
Oh, okay, okay.
There was actually a time period where we were best friends in the Western times.
Oh, yeah, I see. Okay,
And
okay.
we kind of fought over Emanuelle actually for her affection. So
That's funny. Some things they kind of repeat themselves in some form.
yes, very true. It is very true.
And when did this happen? So when did this experience with Eric happen? When you were shown these other planes and being out of spiritual body and experiencing your life review? When did that happen?
It was happening right around the time period when my wife was working with Eliza at the time period, and I was still really kind of working on my energy healing and kind of still growing and evolving with what I was doing. And then
Mhm.
eventually, through time though, he started showing me a lot of different things. He started showing me like, that you can go to these different places and that you can jump from one place to another and be at one place at one time. And I was like, this is so cool. And I think one time he took me to show me aliens actually once.
Really? Oh God. What kind of aliens were those?
I didn't know that I didn't know what they looked like. They were very different. I had never seen anything like them before. They were very unique and very special.
Hmm.
They
And
kind of like he kind of just took me to their ship, and they were like kind of like these. I don't know. They were really hard to explain. They were kind of like these crystallized figures.
hmm.
There was like one tall one. There was one little one. I was kind of freaked out because okay. I was like, why are you showing me this for? So yeah,
Why?
that was it was kind of mind blowing.
And why did he do that? Did,
I honestly don't know. I don't know why.
maybe he just wanted to have some fun.
I think so. I really do. I think he did want to have some fun,
He was watching your face.
probably.
Okay, so and are you still learning um, from Eric how to heal and how to split yourself and fly around, things like that?
Well, when I first started doing my healings, I kind of started doing them very simple, very basic. I used to wear a necklace on my neck, though, to kind of protect me, though, from absorbing people's energies,
Mm-hmm,
because I kind of learned that trick as
mm-hmm,
well. And then when I first started doing it, I kind of did it kind of simple, kind of basic, because I was still at the kind of the beginning stages of it.
mm-hmm,
So when I did the healings with people, though, I would just, connect to their energies and get really a feeling of how they felt, you know, and I would kind of, because at the beginning when I first started, I had a lot of help. I had a lot of assistance from my family members, Eric, my guides, they kind of were like, I have like a whole team. So I have a basketball team apparently. So
That's cool. So, and you're doing energy healing with people and animals as well. So, I
yes.
found that extremely exciting because I love animals. One is here, down here, right now, not leaving me. And how is this different? Healing people and dealing with their energy and healing animals. How is this different?
It's It's different because with humans tend to have these filters. They tend to have these things they tend to hold on to a lot of times. Whether it be stress, anxiety, fears, doubts, worries, or they're trying too hard, or they have a hard time letting go of things in the past, or they're holding on to certain traumas. And it tends to kind of block them at times sometimes. Now with animals, it's a little bit different. Animals have filters too, but not as many, because they tend to go more the natural flow of the universal energy. And they learn to accept and understand the natural flow of the energy better.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas humans, you have to kind of be a guide to them almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But at the time when I first started, I didn't completely understand it when I first started. Because when I first started, it was very, very basic. I kind of like imagined, because I remember I saw this video with Tila Swan that she was talking about, like, you imagine like this root coming out of the ground and everything like that and stuff. And you plant your feet in the ground. And I said, okay, so that's why I started doing it first. When I first started doing it, I kind of took what she did in her video, and I kind of started applying that first. At first, it worked really well. I saw really good effects from it. But then I had this one lady who came to my house. She had a very bad accident. And the first time I did a healing with her, it didn't really work the way it wanted to. Something just didn't feel right. And then she came back and it got a little bit better the second and third time. And I said, man, what am I doing with her that's not working? They work with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I kind of had to almost go back to the drawing board almost with her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what can I do differently with her? So I remember I watched this video, because I watched a lot of meditation videos, a lot of meditation music. And like this idea just kind of clicked to me all of a sudden, that what if I can take a person and put them in a place that makes them feel the most happiest and the most comfortable, whether it be like, nature or the mountains or their bedroom or a special room in the house they feel the most comfortable and safe with, with that making them feel more comfortable, relaxed, and be able to open up and be more receptive to it. So I started trying that. And I did this with her, and I saw an amazing result with her. And sure enough, she felt 10 times better. And I was like, wow, this really worked. So then I kind of started trying it with people. And it really, by doing this, it really opened up this really wide expansion for me into my healings. Because I was not only learning myself, but I was learning from the people that I was healing as well too, which made it even more fascinating.
So was that kind of a guided meditation where you were talking to her and saying that she should imagine this safe and comfortable room or place? Was that something like that?
Yes, I think what a lot of people have to understand about energy healing, it's not just about connecting to the energy, it's about communication. Communication is a very big part of energy healing, because when you connect to someone, when you connect to their energy, a lot of people, they connect to the energy, they feel it, and then they start doing the healings. But I think it's very important to communicate with them too as well, to make them feel safe, make them feel comfortable, make them feel like, okay, you're not alone in this. I'm here to help you help yourself. And I started basically doing that with people. So what I do is, when my healings now is, I go into this meditative state. I kind of have a routine I do with my healings. Before going down, I would say at least 30 to 45 minutes before I even do a healing, I have to make sure that I am in a good high vibrational state. Because as an energy healer, if you're not in a good high vibrational energy state yourself, it's very hard to heal somebody. You can't do it. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So what I do is, I tend to listen to music. But I really listen to music that's really inspirational, that kind of inspires me and gives me the courage and the strength that I need to be able to help people. And I usually listen to martial arts music, or I listen to 80s music. That really gets me, kind of in this vibrational state that needs to do it. And everything. So that's how I usually go into it. And then before I get ready to do it, and I say at least a couple minutes beforehand, I kind of talk to my guides, my spiritual guides, my angel, my friends, my family. I say, okay, you guys, help me out here. I'm here. be there if I need help. Give me the assistance if I need assistance. If I don't need assistance, okay, no problem, fine. And I say, okay. They kind of just give me the thumbs in my head, like, good to go. So when I go into the healing, I feel much more comfortable, much more relaxed. I go into the healing. So when I have to do with people.
It's interesting that I thought that we were doing different things, completely different. I'm doing hypnosis and you are doing energy healing. But now I started to see how it's kind of almost the same, because what you do when you make them relax and imagine their safe place, it's a hypnosis technique. You are hypnotizing them into letting go, into feeling safe, into opening up. And the same way, when I am starting my sessions with people, I always do these meditations and ask my guides and meditate about what's going on. I'm kind of tapping into that energy, trying to feel and asking for permission to go into that and help them. So it's amazing how similar these two things are. Wow, I didn't know that. It's amazing.
It can be very similar, though. I think a lot of people realize, though, is whether you're an energy healer or you're a hypnotherapist or a spiritual coach or a medium, they're just all different ways, different techniques of doing it, though. But it really all adds up to the same thing, though. It's all about connecting, and it's all about when you do this kind of work. What I've learned is this: as long as you're doing it with the right intentions to really help that person, and you do it with all that you are and with love, it doesn't matter what technique or what form you use. If you're doing it with love, that's what matters. And when people feel that, they'll know.
Yeah. Yes. They kind of subconsciously know, or telepathically they get this message and they feel that. It's interesting. And so how does this work then with animals? You said that they also have some kind of filters, but not the same filters as people. So how do you communicate with them?
Well, it's kind of the same way with I do with humans too. I kind of when I go in this meditative state when I go do my healing with people, and then I kind of take my subconscious mind and I go to the environment where they're at currently in the physical form. And I kind of tap them on the shoulder and I say, okay, come with me. I'll take you to the place you want to go to. And they kind of basically step out of their physical body and their spiritual body goes with me. And I take them on the place where they want to go to. But what I usually do is I show them this door when we get there. I say, okay, there's a door. I showed it to you, but you're the one that has to open it to get to the place you want to go to. All right. So then they open a door and then we go to the place they want to go to. And then basically we talk a little bit first. I ask them, what's wrong with you? Is it mental? Is it physical? Because a lot of people will tell you one thing in the physical form, but their spiritual body might tell you something completely different. And this I've learned very much. So then when I am talking to them, I kind of give them the encouragement and the strength, to say, hey, you have the ability to help yourself. I'm just here to guide you and teach you and show you how to do it. Okay. And that's one thing I've learned. That's what I do now with my healings though, as well. But I've learned with my healings though too, is that every individual is so unique and so different as well. And I've had a lot of time with my healings that sometimes the people I do this with, they tend to change their environments while I'm there with them. And that can be quite difficult and quite challenging though, because as a healer, sometimes you have to step back when that happens and kind of reevaluate what's going on at that moment to kind of reassess and how to get back into the connection with them.
And why is that happening?
Because I think what a lot of people have to understand is that when we go into the spiritual planes, that we have the ability to change our environments. If we don't feel like something feels right to us, we don't feel comfortable, we'll tend to change it. And this is the one thing I learned from Eric, because he showed me this. So I was like, okay, so when this happens, I take a step back and I say, okay, what do they want to show me? I feel like there's something they want to show me or something they feel like that I need to know more. And I'm like, okay. So then I kind of take what they show me and I kind of find a way to try to combine where they wanted me to go to the first place, the place they feel comfortable with, and what they're trying to show me now. I try to find someone in between to kind of balance it out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I do with them. And I feel like, sometimes, and there's also times when I do healing with people, I feel like there's, some people need more help. Sometimes I feel like, people are kind of holding back because they're being resistant, and they're not fully ready to release and let go because they're not ready for it yet. So sometimes I have to ask for assistance sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I'll have my friends, my family. A lot of times I have Bruce Lee come in a lot of times. I do. He comes in a lot to help me, actually. He
Yeah.
does. He's my idol, actually. I look for him for a lot of inspirational help. But there have been times, though, where I've had entities come in, though, that kind of just take over when I'm doing the healings as well, too,
Mm-hmm.
which
In
is
what
which is
way?
very
In what way are they taking over? What are they
well.
doing?
It's very weird because they kind of just step in and they're like this glowing figure. I can't really tell if they're a male or female at times, though, but you can feel what their energy kind of energy they are. Sometimes it kind of feels male or angel, and they kind of just step in and they say, "Okay, I'm taking over," and I say, "Okay, you want to take over?"
Wow.
Yeah, and it feels weird because I feel it here in the physical plane, but I also feel it in the spiritual plane too, though, as well, which makes it even more really weird at times. It does, but very unique as well and beautiful at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. That's exciting. And do they help with animals as well?
Yes, they do at times though. I have had I think I had a healing once with this I think it was a cat, I think. But with the animals, I tend to take them to a different place. I don't take them to the same place like I do humans. Because animals, they can't really talk to you, so all you have to do is basically talk to their energy basically. But
Yeah.
I always kind of take them to the same place. So I take them to this field, this open field where there's grass and sunshine, they can run around. And I just take them to this place and I kind of sit with them on the grass and we kind of just had a chat. We talk,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of pet them and I ask them what's wrong. And the great thing about animals is though animals, they are so open to communicate with you. They don't have this blockage or like, okay, this is what's wrong with me and stuff like that. No, they start telling you stuff. You're like, okay, sure. Like, where did you heard that? Like, I heard here. It's like I say, okay, why do you heard that? Where's it coming from? And they'll say it's from a past trauma, or they had an accident that happened to them in this life, or they were beaten, or they were mistreated, or was something like that, or they're really sick as well. But they have the filters too, because sometimes I think what people don't understand is that animals can have filters sometimes from their traumas that happened to them. I had an animal once though that he had a previous owner and he was very badly abused by him. And then a new owner took him in, but he wasn't really fully receptive to the new owners as much still because of the past trauma he had. And that's what caused him to have that filter a little bit
Mm-hmm.
as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to kind of show him, okay, it's okay that you went through this. We all go through things, you know. And I kind of started showing him that, hey, it's okay to let go. It's okay that you experience this. Now I'm going to show you how to be able to get over it. Because I kind of showed him what I went through, because it kind of helped him a little bit. And then he starts saying, okay, this will help me, And I think that's what makes it so beautiful with animals, though, as well, because they are willing to let go much easier sometimes. They're willing to accept the natural order of things because they are fully in tune with it more, because they're acting at this much higher vibrational energy than we are. If you ever look at when you see a dog or a cat when they're here in the physical plane, you ask them why they barking or looking at a strange wall and stuff, it's because they're seeing those entities.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing them. We don't see them as much, but they do. And that's why they just operate so much different than we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My cat freaks me out all the time because she's, staring into the air and there's nothing there, and she's just like this. So that can be frustrating. And
It,
mhm.
no,
Sometimes
it can be. No, go ahead. Sorry.
no, it's okay. We have a time lapse. So sometimes she even communicates with those entities or energies. I don't know. So I see that she is nervous, and she's talking to them. So what did you want to say?
Oh no, that's very normal. It's because they understand it more than we do. They're more accepting, more understanding than we are to it. Because they have the ability to let go. You
Yes.
know, they're not holding on to things. They're not like this. Well, I'm like, they have all these fears and worries like we do, or I have to perform. They don't think about that. They just kind of go with the flow, and that's
Mhm.
what we should do. We should go with the flow more, but we don't at times because we tend to let society or other people or other things in our life tell us that it has to be a certain way or a certain, how we're
Yeah.
doing things in our life.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that way though. You have the ability to change what you want your life to be, what you want your journey to be. But you have to be ready for yourself in order to be able to take that step.
Hmm. Yeah. And how could people learn to let go? What do you think? What would be your message to them or to us, to all of us?
I think the message to people is to be able to let go is to really take a look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, is this the kind of person that I want to be right now? And what kind of person do I want to be going forward? What do I want for my life? For me, not for other people, for me. You know, do do I really love myself? Do I have compassion for myself? Because really it all starts with you. Because if you don't love yourself, no one's gonna love you. If you don't have compassion for yourself, no one's gonna have compassion for you. And you have to ask yourself those questions. And sometimes people have a hard time facing the truth. It's like if they have to face the truth, like, oh, if I have to face the truth, who am I going to be without it? It's like they hold on to this thing in their lives, and then if I have to face the truth, you know, what's going to happen, and how are people going to receive me and stuff. They're afraid of letting go of that. They're afraid of letting go of truly being who they really want to be. They put up like this barrier, like they show people one way, but they're not that way. Just be who you are. If you truly be who you are, your true authentic self in life, and love yourself with everything you are, then you will receive love back in return.
And another question. Uh, I have met many people who are very left-brained. I'm an engineer, so I worked with lots of people who are like this. Logic, analytical brain is everything. It's the God, and they disconnected from their feelings. So many people can't feel their feelings. They are just blocked. They think that they don't feel, but the body shows these feelings. So the body talks, but these people have no connection to the body, to the feelings, to that energetic body. How could you, what could you advise to these people, for example, these very left brain logical people?
I would say to the left brain people, is this: no one can tell you when you're ready. Only you know when you're ready. A lot of people tend to kind of force their issues or their problems on other people. and they try to tell them, hey, you have to be this way or be that way. Just be who you are. You know, and if you're ready to experience the spiritual awakening, that's when you're ready for it. And if you're not ready for it, that's okay. It's your journey. We're all on this individual, different journey, this different path. But at the end of the day, though, we all meet at the same place at the end. And some people are on different paths. Some people are not here to experience the spirituality as much. And some people are here to experience the full, vast amount of it. Mm-hmm. It just depends what kind of trajectory you're on. But you have the ability to change that if you choose to change it, because it's called free will. We've all been given that ability.
And how could we enhance these abilities? So if we already have some spiritual experience, many in my group do have these experiences, what can they do to evolve and connect?
What I think you have to do is this, like that, is take what you've learned in your experiences in life and see your life as a learning experience, because your life is a learning experience. A lot of people tend to see their life as good or bad, right or wrong. I did this wrong, I didn't know. It's a learning experience because you had to learn it. You need to learn in order to grow and to evolve, to become the person that you are right now and the person that you want to become later on as well. So what you have to realize is this, the moment that you are ready to open your spiritual awakeness, you have to choose when you have to do it, And I recommend people who want to open their spiritual awakenesses, start learning, go on YouTube, look at videos, meditate, and it's like a go-to spiritual people, like Buddhists. Like I went to like 2 or 3 Buddhists. And I took a piece of what they taught me and one person what they taught me. And then I watched videos about Buddhism too as well when I first started doing this as well too. But then I learned from a lot of spiritual teachers and motivational speakers as well. And I took a little bit of a piece of everything they taught me, but I also took my experiences that I've learned as well from other people and my wife. And what I've learned during my meditations though, that helped me evolve to open my spiritual awakeness though. So if you really want your spiritual awakeness to open up, you have to really be able to go out there and fully explore every aspect. Don't limit yourself. I always hear a lot of people like, oh, I got a degree in Reiki healing. The people, you don't need a degree in order to do this work. Anybody can do this. Everybody has the ability to do this. You just have to find a way that relates to you, that you can connect to. Because we don't all connect the same way. What might work for one person might not work for you. So you have to find what works for you first, and then start learning, really evolving how to, evolve with your gift and your abilities, And then when you're doing that, start learning from not just yourself, but from other people, and learn why you're doing your healings as well too, though, because you can learn a lot from that too, which can help you later on with other people for other healings as well too. Or whatever work, whether you be a channeler, or a reader, or a spiritual coach, or a hypnotherapist as well.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. I could ask you for days, I think. Wow. Thank you very much, Gerald.
No problem.
I think it was very, very exciting. Really, I could sometimes feel this woo, woo energy coming. So, wow. Sometimes I was really blown away. And I love your insights. I love your energy, the way you keep it simple, actually, without all these ideas attached, the guruism, and we have to follow this religion or that theory or whatever. So that's that's very positive in you, that you keep it really simple and accessible to all people. So yeah, yeah.
I think what people have to realize though too is that it is very simple. This is very simple. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult. We just tend to overcomplicate things because we think if we make it more complicated or more professional or we seem smart, we do it, it makes it look better. That's not always the case. It's really simple. It really is, you know? And I have learned when you simplify things, it makes things a lot easier. It really does. I'm just very straightforward to the point. I go by what I've experienced, you know, what I've learned, you know, because that's the best way you do learn is from your experiences because it teaches you a value. Like I said to people, you are the teacher and the student of your own lives. You're constantly teaching and you're constantly being the student at the same time, though, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And where can people find you or reach you if they want energetic healing for themselves, for their loved ones, or the pets?
Well, I have a Facebook page as well. You can look me up on my Facebook page, which is Gerald McIntosh, or you can look up on my wife on her Facebook page, which is called Rolling with Emma. And we have a website, the Sakamuni website. You can look us up there too as well.
Okay. Okay. So we will link then this in the description. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here and sharing all these experiences because I was just listening like a schoolgirl. It was story time for me. I enjoyed it very much.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.